especially technical skills. You brought up this thing about VLOOKUP. I need to know VLOOKUP exists for me to ask even a chat GPT for it.
I need to know, one, VLOOKUP exists.
Yeah.
Two, what does VLOOKUP do? And what is the outcome that I want?
Correct.
Therefore, to ask a relevant question to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So unless I have the foundational capability, core capability, understanding of the technology or the application, I'm not going to ask relevant questions. So ChatGPT can only augment that.
Right.
So ChatGPT cannot replace that.
I wanted to understand the technical training world from somebody who's been there for 90 odd years. How big is the market in India?
I think technical training alone will be close to about 2,000 crores, possibly more, because of the large players that are there. Now, the unorganized sector in the technical training industry is possibly larger than them.
Before the pandemic, what was your virtual to on-premise, percentage? And after the pandemic, has that kind of shifted the other way?
During or just after the pandemic, 100% of that was virtual and zero classroom.
Right.
And today, we still see 90% of our trainings is virtual and 10% is classroom, simply because of the work culture and the client locations.
Right.
People are resistant, right? And people are averse to coming to classrooms and sitting for a training. If there is a virtual training program of ours, let us say on an advanced Excel program, if there are 25 seats, there are 35 applications for that, with 10 as waitlisted, and that particular slot is full in about 2 minutes. If there is a classroom training announced, the occupancy can come down to anywhere between 1 and 9 in the last 1.5 years with the same client and with the same vendor delivering.
Welcome to the Immersive Edge podcast powered by mix3d. This is where the who's who of learning and development, human resources, corporate training, and corporate trainers come to share their work and experience. If you're looking to join the learning and development industry, or if you're an educational content provider or a buyer, this podcast is for you. Our guest today is a specialist in technical training programs. He started his career in the FMCG distribution vertical and moved later to the education space through NIIT. He was on the front line implementing government IT education schemes in the 1990s. At one point in his career, he managed franchise networks of NIIT across South India. 2006 was a defining year for him. He started Knowledge Capital Solutions, a company which specializes in all forms of technical training. In conversation with Sunil Kumar Nair. Mr. Sunil Kumar.
Yes.
From Knowledge Capital Solutions.
Yes, Jay.
Welcome to the Immersive Edge podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over.
I still remember how I met you, right? There's this customer who called me and said, I want to do this advanced Excel program and I want to do VBA, I want to learn macro, I want to literally learn everything. Right. And Sunil, another Sunil, if you remember, he was
your colleague. Yes, that's correct.
So he said, I know just the guy. And his name is also Sunil. And that's when I called you and I said, this is what the customer wants. And the first thing you told me is, all of this, is that all? I wanted to address, world hunger in one day.
Right.
And since then, I think it would have been at least 10 years since we've known each other.
I think a little more than that.
Little more than 10 years. And the number of batches that you've delivered for us. And you continue to evolve into bigger and bigger spaces, right? And I just wanted to, ask you this question. Whenever somebody asks me, technical training program, the first thing is, okay, dial Sunil.
Right.
We're like a one-stop solution of all technical programs for us. How did you build that brand?
I think prima facie, I was fortunate that I worked with one of the world's largest IT training companies, close to 11 years. I worked with an IIT, and therefore the opportunity to get exposed to technology training, etc., was immense. And I was also fortunate that I was in various roles, decision-making roles, not so much from a content building standpoint, but from a managing training standpoint.
You manage centers.
Manage franchise education centers, recruited franchisees. So the opportunity was immense, and therefore the understanding of what technology training is and how technology training is delivered was something that I picked up from there.
In fact, I would say single-handedly, NIIT invented technical education.
More or less, and everybody was playing catch up. So that was the industry standard that people had to actually catch up with. Not many have managed to do that. But the fact that I wasn't that kind of an ecosystem, that kind of an environment, my learning curve was very, very steep there.
And you were managing most of South India at some point.
The Karnataka, Kerala, Goa space. So we had close to about 100 and odd. And after the UR.com business happened, which was championed by the ex-Chief Minister S.M. Krishna, we were part of the core team, which built a lot of UR.com centers. We added about 50 and odd from an IIT alone. So we had one education center in each assembly constituency of Karnataka.
Wow.
Okay, so there were 3-4 partners, and IIT was one of the champions there. So I was leading that effort. So in a way, you could say that in Karnataka, Kerala, Goa, I've set up more than 100 and odd NIIT education centers and managed them as well.
I would say that in turn, certainly has, over the years made Karnataka synonymous, and more so Bangalore synonymous with tech, right?
Yeah, I think it all started with S.M. Krishna's time. If you remember, they had a IT policy called Mahiti Sindhu.
Okay.
And Mahiti Sindhu was about bringing in IT education into 1,000 government schools. And I did that project. Right? And the extension was what I was talking about, the UR.com education centers, wherein the Chief Minister had this vision that we have to take IT education to people, world-class IT education to people and get closer to them. And so every assembly constituency had these education centers, apart from the ones that market leaders like an IIT had put in. And there were also competition who had put in a lot of education centers in various places. So in a way, yes, it all started from there, and therefore the IT culture got built by the government, by businesses, by companies like an IIT, who churned out thousands and thousands of people to actually pick up those jobs that were created by the businesses.
Right.
And I think that's how the ecosystem of Bangalore becoming an IT capital of the country and known to be the Silicon Valley of the East happened. I think, so
this kind of, more or less, I'm just probably making my own hypothesis here. Probably that is the origin story of KCS, Knowledge Capital Solutions.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah. So when you decided to start on your own, how long has it been since KCS started?
This is our 19th year. We've completed 18 years in May.
Oh my God! If you were an individual, you'd be voting.
I would be voting. Right or wrong, we don't know, but I would still be voting.
Still be voting. 19th year in technical training, added products almost as the tech stacks across, whatever was there. There is a trainer that you have to go ahead and deliver this.
Yes.
Right. Another thing that I have noticed about, interactions with you, there's never been a technical training program that you ever said no to. You will be able to kind of find somebody to service it.
Yes.
That shows, that network that you have put in place. So just to give you a context of our viewers, most of our viewers are either from the learning and development industry or people looking forward to join this industry.
You're right.
So most of my questions are going to be to, enlighten them about, our industry from a buyer's point of view and a seller's point of view.
You're right.
Right. So you promote KCS, Knowledge Capital Solutions. You have a suite of products, technical products that you train. I wanted to understand the technical training world from somebody who's been there for 19 odd years. How big is the market in India?
I think technical training alone will be close to about 2,000 crores, possibly more, because of the large players that are there in the business.
Right.
Now, for example, organizations like an IIT, AppTech, etc., they're extremely large organizations who also deliver a lot of training to enterprises. Now, even if you look at the sum total of all their turnovers, it's staring at that kind of a number or bigger. Now, the unorganized sector in the technical training industry is possibly larger than them. And which is why I made that statement. Now, there have been various kinds of reports in terms of the market size, but this is what I think is right.
About 2,000 crores.
About 2,000 crores, and it's primarily because of the unorganized sector. When I say unorganized sector, even I am a part of that unorganized sector. It is not certification training that we are talking about, like Microsoft or any of those companies. I'm talking about the unorganized ones, where organizations reach out to companies like us to skill their people on specific technologies, and we put together the right resource and the right content to ensure that those are delivered.
Right.
That meets the requirement.
Right.
So this industry is extremely large. It is unorganized. It's very unlike the West, where most of trainings are all organized. But in India, the unorganized sector is larger than the organized one.
So this is largely the story of the training business on the whole, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
No different in the technical training space. Interesting. So, have you done anything besides technical training at KCS?
We have dabbled with the behavioral skill space, but that's not something that we wanted to do, because we want to, as a silo, wanted to focus on the technical training bit, because it came from legacy, it came from where I came from, and we were more comfortable doing that. And also our engagement with the resources that deliver these programs were kind of consistent with our ideas of how that has to be delivered,
right?
Because we depended heavily on methodology, content, delivery mechanisms. Methodology primarily was very, very important for us and close to our hearts. And we thought that, being in the technical training business is what will actually take us forward, as opposed to
that is your strength.
Focusing on behavioral or soft skills, as they say. We have done that. We have done that in good measure, but technical training is what we are known for.
Yeah. So it's like ordering for, a Malai Kofta at Empire.
Right.
The risk is completely on you.
Absolutely.
You should not be ordering that.
You should not be ordering that, as you should be sticking to your ghee rice and kebabs.
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer that, in the training space, you should be known for something, which is your Empire, ghee rice and kebab. They're known for that.
Right.
So, technical training as per, and I could be wrong completely, please enlighten me. Technology keeps kind of, there's something which is hot today, cold in the next 6 to 8 months. Today you'll be talking about numbers like, somebody telling you, I want 5,000 people to be trained on this tech stack. And 6 months later, there is no demand for that tech stack anymore.
Right.
How difficult is it to keep pace with this kind of change?
It also depends on how you see it. Now, if you look at broadly the two large frameworks, let's say a .NET or a Java framework, you will see that historically, while changes have happened, it's all about patching it up and acquiring new skills within the framework. So you're not doing away with the framework, but acquiring new skills on different technologies that keep coming up. Now, when you look at the IT industry, it is always about learning and learning how to learn.
Right.
Right? So if you are not learning quickly, it's very likely that you will be
very soon
redundant and not be somebody who will be in demand to deliver. And unless you are skilling yourself, reskilling yourself, and then delivering those skills very quickly, you will not be in the race. So it's a feature of the IT industry. Right. So there's no running away from it.
So you're saying it's not the technology getting redundant, it is that patch that you'll need to be upskilled on.
Yeah.
That is what keeps you in the business. So
when I say the patch, it could be new technologies as well.
Okay.
But the whole framework is something that you have to learn.
Right.
And you have to be adept at, and you have to be very strong in your core. And then you start building those additional qualifications to in turn deliver. So those are important. So it is not that you're getting redundant. It's just that you're reinventing yourself.
Right.
As a trainer or as a training company, and be adept and capable enough to deliver those trainings.
Right. So you must be ahead in terms of skilling if you have to actually skill others.
Right.
Interesting. What kind of occupancy numbers can you expect? Because see, there is good amount of what do you call customer understanding, aligning content to the customer, because you're actually talking about skills which has a big impact on the balance sheet.
Right.
There is no running away. You cannot have gray areas in tech.
Absolutely.
This is what it will do.
Yes.
Right. So tell me this. If I have a trainer who's occupied for, let's say, 12 days out of the 22, is that a good occupancy number?
It's a fairly decent occupancy number. But there are some trainers of mine who can keep themselves occupied even for 16, 18 days. Some of our stars can even do 20, 22. Right? But then the norm is about 12 to 14 days. If a person can keep himself or herself occupied for about 12 to 14 days, that's a very good number. Because otherwise, it's again diminishing returns after some time. Right? Fatigue sets in. So ideal thing would be about 12 to 14 days.
Have you tried, I'm certain you would have during the pandemic, there was no other way to deliver stuff. Have you tried remote trainings? Does that work for technical training programs?
It does. Even before the pandemic, we have done this. We were partnering in IIT, and we used to deliver certain CA, Computer Associates, security trainings to the West. So we had a trainer in Chennai. So I'm talking about using WebEx in 2008. So we have delivered high technology trainings using WebEx virtual trainings, and we have pulled it off.
That is about 11 years before the pandemic.
11 years before the pandemic. So that's something that we have done.
Yeah.
And we know how to do that. So when virtual trainings happened during and after the pandemic, we were all ready.
That is not a surprise.
That was not a surprise at all for us. We knew it was heading there, but it's continuing to go that way.
So has there been a split? If yes, if you could give our viewers a number of before the pandemic, what was your virtual to on-premise, percentage? And after the pandemic, has that kind of shifted the other way?
Just the other way, dramatically.
Okay.
So now, apart from the trainings that we used to deliver to the West, the US markets, all our trainings were instructor-led classroom at client locations or in a classroom setup. During or just after the pandemic, 100% of that was virtual and zero classroom.
Right.
And today, we still see 90% of our trainings as virtual and 10% as classroom, simply because of the work culture at the client locations. People are resistant, right? And people are averse to coming to classrooms and sitting for a training, even from an occupation standpoint. I work with very large customers. Now, if there is a virtual training program of ours, let us say on an advanced Excel program, if there are 25 seats, there are 35 applications for that, with 10 as waitlisted, and that particular slot is full in about 2 minutes. My clients have told me that. And we run maybe about 20, 25 such programs a month. Now, as opposed to that, if there is a classroom training announced, the occupancy can come down to anywhere between 1 and 9 in the last 1.5 years with the same client and with the same vendor delivering. When our programs are so hot, where the demand is so high, and because we have been with them for about 16 years, this is our 17th year with them. So when a class is announced on Advanced Excel delivered by Knowledge Capital Solutions, it'll just fly away in 2 minutes. There have been complaints where people have actually told me that, look, I had to receive a call, and by the time I could say, look, I'll call you back and come back, the class was full. Right? As opposed to that, you see the culture that is happening. So people are averse to coming to classrooms now. And so there's been a lot of effort, not only with this client, I've heard it from multiple people. People are averse to coming to classrooms to learn. And, now, it's not a surprise. Now, if you see organizations like TCS, Wipro, etc., mandating people to come to actually work at the workplace and not just limit themselves to being at home and working. But there has been a cultural shift in terms of how people work. And I foresee that this will continue to happen in the next 3-4 years.
Okay.
Right?
You don't see
I don't see a very, very large number coming back into classroom trainings because people are trying. People have realized that participants are not actually coming in unless it's a stick approach, right? And that does not contribute to good work ethics and culture, and therefore organizations will figure out over a period of time as to how to bring in larger number of people into classrooms. But in the next 3-4 years, I see it as maybe even coming down to 50-50.
Okay.
Not better than that.
50-50 is probably the pinnacle. Given that, I mean, I remember I had this question to another guest on the show. His answer was, give me a choice, I'd still like to do this in a classroom setup because that's where I can deliver the best value.
Absolutely.
The second best and the only other option is to do it virtual.
Right.
What are your thoughts about self-paced learning mechanism? Do they really work in technical training?
Self-paced training to an extent have worked, but it's instructor-led that I can actually enable them to acquire those skills and actually put it to use. Right. Because if self-paced learning were to be so hot, I think the training industry would have collapsed.
Yeah.
Right? Or the training industry would have taken a very different shape where we would only be delivering content for self-paced consumption.
Right.
Now, organizations over the years have tried it. Organizations still have their LMSs, etc. They put content there and a lot of people are learning there. But when you actually measure efficacy from one standpoint, the other is what is it that I can put on an LMS for self-paced learning, and what are those programs that actually require an instructor to deliver.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of thought gone into that, obviously, with various organizations. But my belief is they have not got it right yet.
And I doubt if it will, because I had there's this conversation. He heads learning and development for about 12,000 people. So, and I was in Mumbai incidentally, so we caught up for a beer. And he said, Jay, we're suffering from Netflix syndrome. I said, what is that? He's gone and picked up. Name the MOOC, be it LinkedIn Learning, Udemy's, fantastic content. You look at the content that they have, right? A lifetime is not enough.
Correct.
Right? He's bought all of them for all his employees. All right? And it's available. And I asked him, okay, so it's available. That's the whole point. Like, you have a Netflix subscription. Do you realize when you go surfing, you spend more time surfing than actually going and watching a film?
Absolutely.
You're like, I think I'll do this, I'll do that. Literally, when you introduce any of these new learning initiatives, and this is money paid upfront, and you're paying per month.
Absolutely.
It's a huge commitment. And when they look at the completion, there is adoption. Adoption will be high. Completion and progress reports kind of reveal a very different story.
Right.
It's not about making content available. It's about making the right content served right with support.
Absolutely.
That's not going to
And
go out.
enabling the learner to complete the learning,
Right.
and it originally was designed for.
Correct.
And therefore put those checks and measures to ensure that this person has actually acquired the skill. Why do you train? Because you need those skills to be deployed at the workplace.
Yeah.
So unless that happens, the purpose of the training is defeated.
Yeah.
So it's like saying that, look, there are 500 libraries in Bangalore. Therefore, we can do away with the schools and colleges because content is available. It can be self-paced.
That's a powerful one. Yes, that's self-paced for you. Of those times.
Of those days. Yeah. Right? So why did we have schools? Why do we have elementary education? Why do you have colleges? Why do you have lecturers, teachers?
Yeah.
Because you need to teach people. Okay?
Yeah.
Sure, an ability to acquire skills by oneself is anyway there, because those are critical skills to acquire since you're getting into the IT industry especially. Because you need to have the ability to learn. So all the SPL content that is there is enabling people to learn by themselves. But that doesn't mean that you do away with instructor-led training, because it becomes critical.
Absolutely.
That's your core.
Yeah.
And if you can't build that, I think SPL is a waste of time.
That example that you gave of libraries in schools also brings me to that conversation we were having before the podcast about, especially technical skills. You brought up this thing about VLOOKUP.
Yes.
I need to know VLOOKUP exists for me to ask even a chat GPT for it.
Right? I need to know, one, VLOOKUP exists. Two, what does VLOOKUP do? And what is the outcome that I want?
Correct.
Therefore, to ask the relevant question to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So unless I have the foundational capability, core capability, and understanding of the technology or the application, I'm not going to ask relevant questions. So ChatGPT can only augment that.
Right.
So ChatGPT cannot replace that.
Got it. I mean, I think there is a lot of content that you can see around saying that this is going to take away jobs. I go back to the days, and maybe you could also connect back. I think it was in the 90s when Tally was, making all the big noise. Tally, based out of Kormangla, I guess. They initially could not find traction among the chartered accountant community, because they thought,
It's going to replace us.
So people will start creating their own invoices. Why would they need us? When Tally went to CAs and gave them Tally software for free, try it. And instead of working with 4 clients, now you can work with probably 3 times as much, or 12 clients.
Correct.
When they started looking at that as a productivity saver, today I think Tally is de facto. You run a
accountants can't operate without Tally. Yeah, I'll give you another example. This was during the computerization in states. I'm talking about Indian states, not the United States. There was a huge hue and cry about computerization in Kerala.
Oh, okay.
Because they believed that computers will take away jobs. What's happened today? Right? Ken Olsen made a statement long ago when he was heading IBM. He said, I think there's a market for 3 computers in the world.
Yeah.
The problem with most of us is that it's only as far as we can see that we can base our judgment on.
Right.
Right? But what's going to happen and how it's going to kind of snowball into something as big. And today you see, we have 4 computers.
Yes.
Per se. I mean, you have a mobile phone.
Yeah.
It's a platform, right? You have a laptop. You possibly have a desktop, right? So we have 3 computers for a single person.
One, yeah.
So, and we are also talking about Meta, the releases that Zuckerberg has to come up with. It's in the news today. So now look at the implication. So it's computerization is it's from the Industrial Revolution that you can see. Right, and how mankind has progressed in the last 200-300 years, and the computer industry, IT industry is growing dramatically.
I think, as a small company myself, we're a fairly small company that way. The turnaround time of user stories has reduced. because I know my team uses ChatGPT. I'm okay with it. They realize that, earlier, if you have to do even a simple identity management, you have to sit and write code.
Correct.
Today, people are really, they go to GitHub.
Correct.
It's already there.
Correct.
They tweak it. So it is largely more, it's not about writing code anymore. Those days are gone. If you're smart enough and if you know what you're looking for, you can assemble code.
Your productivity goes up.
Absolutely.
That's the point.
So turnaround times of, largely IT products, and because you deal with the IT industry and you put all your eggs into that one segment.
Correct.
Don't you see that, if you were to diversify, which other industry can actually, use your technical training products?
Every industry will, because see, it's like saying there is no escaping IT, right? So whether
Every company is IT company now.
See, whether you're with manufacturing or BFSI or IT or whichever that you're talking about, well, you can't escape IT because you're getting impacted by IT, and therefore, if I have to say I have to diversify, I don't think I have to diversify. I am impacting all kinds of industries. Right. So I don't need to diversify. I need to possibly acquire more clients.
Got it.
Right, and that's the only way we grow our businesses. So within the IT industry, I may acquire more clients, and I may, to a lesser extent, possibly manufacturing, depending on the kind of products that I deliver. Right, I won't be able to deliver pure IT programs, for example, into manufacturing companies. So I will be delivering pure IT programs to IT companies.
So there you could possibly
be offering a different kind of a product,
your office products,
etc.
The evergreen
products. And to them as well, it may be to a smaller extent, because it all depends on how their adoption is within their companies or within the industry. Right. It's about how do they use Office? What do they use Office for? And therefore, how many people are required to be trained there, as opposed to a larger company which is possibly into operations, who require thousands and thousands of people to be trained. So it all depends on the client's projects, the client's work, or the kind of work that they pick up and the kind of projects that they work on. Will have a direct bearing on.
Now Office. That you've gone in this route, I remember back, when I was in corporate world, more than half my time was writing reports.
Correct.
Right? And I was pretty decent with Excel and PowerPoint. Word not as much, but Word is not a great.
Correct.
Unless you're writing novels.
Correct.
I figured out that knowing Excel, Office Suite rather, kind of gives you an unfair advantage because you pretty much know what is happening.
Right.
But as I think it's post 2010, almost every company is buying that CRM, this ERP. The digitization in a mass scale started happening. And I remember a colleague of mine who used to run the workforce management team for a large corporate. He got I think he had to move out of the organization, laid off. And I asked him what really happened. And he said, see, now there is no need for anybody to create data. Statistics are captured. They're put into beautiful dashboards. It's available on demand to the leadership.
Correct.
Now that was the reason why I existed, because back then data was never available in the format you needed.
Correct.
It was sprinkled all over. And they had to collate it, make it into dashboards and have those weekly meetings where he used to present it.
Correct.
And he was the guy reporting on all aspects of the company. Literally the most feared guy in the company was that guy.
Correct.
Because he's reporting everybody's horoscopes.
Correct.
Past and future. And has that, over digitization across organizations, has that had an impact on your evergreen products, your office products?
Not really. Not at all. In fact, it's gone up. It's the other way around.
All right.
So as opposed to seeing, let's say, Microsoft Excel as a reporting tool, it's kind of changed because of the kind of businesses that companies have got into.
Okay.
So as opposed to seeing it as a reporting tool, now it's become an analysis tool. which is the reason why Microsoft has also gone in the direction where we have technologies. We have products like Microsoft, BI, which has come. Now, if you see why that has happened, is because data and analysis and visualization have become important, and therefore roles have kind of started shifting in that direction as opposed to reporting. So reporting is maybe one or two people are required, but it is analysis and data management, then you have hundreds of people, and therefore the need for training on applications like MS Excel is actually going up within such organizations. Also, different silos within organizations have an appetite for this. For example, all the support services, it could be corporate functions, or it could the business could be in a silo where it is consulting. So independent of whether a person is coming from an IIT or an IIM, hygiene demands that this person has analysis and visualization skills.
Right.
So we actually have customers doing that, and we do it on a monthly basis with one particular client especially, where we deliver 2-3 batches to these people. These people come from the best B schools and the best engineering colleges in the country. But this is hygiene.
And I remember over a phone call, you were telling me about your foray into the campus to corporate space.
Yeah. We've done that. We've done that earlier.
Tell me a little more about that. I'll ask you some specific questions. I still remember the day I learned VLOOKUP. I thought I was invincible.
Right.
Because you're able to get information from multiple sheets. The day I learned pivot, I thought I knew it all. Of course, I stand corrected and humbled today. But don't you? Why is Office? I mean, I don't know if it is. You'll need to verify that. Is Office a part of curriculum in colleges, or is it an additive that you got to?
Not many B schools have it.
Okay.
Some progressive B schools do.
Okay.
Now, I'll give you an example. I will not name the university. It is one of the most prestigious universities in Bangalore. And we were called recently, about 6 months back, to deliver advanced Excel to people who have completed their MBA program.
Okay.
We only asked them one question. Why after completion? So the principal of the college had one thing to say, that a lot of my students did not get campus offers because they were asked 2-3 fundamental questions on advanced Excel, and they were asked to solve problems, and they were found wanting, and therefore that has impacted our placements. So we delivered to about 300 and odd people after they have finished their MBA program, and they had actually gone home to various places within India. They were actually called in to come and attend this program.
Wow.
So the good thing is about 60-70% of them actually came in and we delivered. And my trainer had this to tell me, that many of them came and asked me, look, this is something. These are the 2 questions that I was asked by one of the leading banks in the country, and I did not get the job. It was a 13 lakh per annum job, and I did not get it. And not one, but many people came and told my trainer. Now, there are 2 ways of approaching this. One is to bring in advanced Excel or any of these Office tools as part of the program and ensure that it is aligned to what the industry expects.
Right.
So there comes in methodology, there comes in content, there comes experience, etc. So I think progressively you will also notice that 2 things will happen. There would be some universities who possibly have engineering, etc. as part of their university setup.
Right.
And maybe they have subject matter experts who have worked in the industry and then come and deliver such Office programs. That's one part. The second part is the kinds that I'm talking about. Now, this year we are delivering to 800 of their MBA students, the college that I spoke about.
Right.
So that's another route that it would take, because people have understood that productivity, with Office is critical.
Right.
Like I said, one of the largest clients, independent of which university or engineering college that you come out, you are going through the grind, and this is part of the Office and advanced Excel skills.
Right.
So you will have such progressive organizations. You will also have a lot of campuses recognizing that, look, even to get in, I need to have the necessary skills.
So how far are we? Maybe another 5 more years before all of this settles down?
No. I think they can't wait for 5 years, because many of these colleges will not remain competitive if they can't place their students. And if it happens in the next campus interview season, then they would be found wanting, and reputation will take a huge beating. So I think they are in a hurry.
They're in a hurry.
They are implementing this.
Brilliant. I mean, I'm sure in the last 19 years, you would have seen from Excel 3.1 to Office 365.
365. That could be about 15 versions within. Possibly, yeah.
The supply, you're saying, how is the supply side? I know there is a demand for these products, and with so many engineering colleges, all of that, the demand exists. How is the supply side of these training programs?
Well, economics at work.
Okay.
When there is demand, supply will catch up, and it is happening. However, what's happening in the industry is simply because of the numbers that are there, you find quality dipping.
Yeah.
That also has a tremendous bearing on what clients are prepared to pay. Because I'll bring in an analogy. Now, let us say I have to deliver an advanced Excel program, and I charge X. And there is another trainer, who's saying, I will also deliver an advanced Excel program, but I will charge 1/4 X. Now, the problem is that both are trainers.
Right.
There is a Mercedes car. There is a Maruti Alto. The problem with businesses today is, I want the quality of a Mercedes, but I have only money for an Alto. And therefore, from a supply standpoint, you have hundreds of such trainers who are getting churned, who also are going and delivering such programs. But I get feedback from many of them saying that it did not go right. Even with very large organizations where people have actually sat through 1 or 2 advanced Excel programs and then later have sat through ours, have said that this is the first time that we did not sleep in an advanced Excel.
You cannot actually.
You cannot, because our methodology is like that, right? We ensure that everybody goes through, right, every exercise that is designed, and that's part of the methodology. And the methodology ensures that people are actually awake, involved, and skilled at the end of it all. So, therefore, from a supply standpoint, the number of trainers will catch up. That's how economics works.
Right. So, here is the other side of the supply story, and of course, also the demand story. In India, everybody wants to wear an Armani shirt at 19.9. Yeah. And they want to learn everything in 120 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Progressively, it is happening. Problem is manifold. Primarily, businesses do not have time. They are saying that, look, I have to complete this project. I don't have the luxury of pulling out X number of people out of the project to invest on such training. And therefore, I have 4 hours and take me to the moon.
4 hours, take me to the moon.
Take me to the moon. So there is this constant confrontation between vendors like us and businesses, and in the crossfire, the L&D teams are stuck. They're saying business only has 4 hours and this is what has to be delivered. And my trainer is saying, this I can only do it in 16 hours. It's only possible to do it in 16 hours. There's so much of content.
Right.
So either it can be a compromise and therefore the supply impact as well, which is some trainer will come and say, look, I want to do this because he wants the money.
Right. He will do it.
Right. Now, if I am stuck with quality and I'm saying that, look, I can't compromise on the outcome of my training program, and I'm saying that at the end of it all, my trainees have to be skilled on these things, and therefore meaningfully put that skill into the workplace, I'm not satisfied.
Right.
So it is not an ethics or a principle standpoint, but I'm saying that, look, this is how I would do it, because I know that it will take that kind of time.
Right.
So many a times what happens, we lose business, right? And there are other people who would possibly do this, but I'm sure at the end of it all, that skill is not being meaningfully put to work in the workplace.
So you're not equipping a person, you're simply telling boss, you do step 1 to step 10,
Yes.
Right? It's like simply saying Sholay is nothing but kill Gabbar in 10 steps.
The problem, however, is felt after the training program.
Correct.
Right? The same business will be now grappling with people who are not skilled enough. And therefore, it's another churn there. Right? And then many a times it also, reflects poorly on us because it's easy to pass the buck. They're saying the trainer was not good.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of accomplishing anything in defined steps.
Correct.
That's when, that is literally, I cannot, even if I go through Excel for dummies, trust me, after a point you'll realize that this is only going to give one result.
Correct.
But if I have a different scenario, I'll be found wanting. Right?
And therefore, you need that instructor to tell you that, look, this is how it can be done. Now, this is what this can achieve, and give them multiple scenarios to equip them with the necessary skills. And they can go back and do that in the workplace. I'll give you an example. This reminds me of a very large organization, right, who used to use our services to deliver Excel. So within 3-4 months, this company, which started with 2 programs, started giving us 10-12 programs a month. So I had a meeting with a head of HR who was also managing L&D. So he said, Sunil, do you know why I am investing so much of money on you? I said, no, Ted. He says, I invest X amount of money on you for a 2-day program. And I get that money back within an hour. He says, what do you mean? He says, look, all this time, people with no office and advanced Excel skills were taking, let's say, 8 hours to accomplish something. Today they are taking 1 hour. For me, that seat is far more billable today.
Right.
And therefore, my revenues are going through the roof. And I'm getting that money back within 1 hour. From now on, it's all profits.
Absolutely.
Because you have provided me those skills, which is making my person more billable. Right? So that is what many companies are not realizing and being very short-sighted, especially business leaders, because they believe that, look, I don't have time today. I'm not talking about what's happening to me tomorrow.
Right.
Because if I have far more people, my tomorrow is going to become very, very profitable. And I should know how to take a beating for today.
So here is something that I want to actually, you've seen the demo of mix3d. This problem is going to remain.
Yeah, it will.
And you'd come up with this term, let's build skillets.
Correct.
Right? And make that inventory available for those who want,
absolutely,
to learn how to use Power BI for a particular application. Correct. There is a skillet that I can go to, experience it, and also see how much more are they missing, right? And building it in a 3D virtual and mixed reality space makes it all the more, memorable. You retain a lot more.
Correct. That's from an experience standpoint.
Yeah.
There is also another element to it. This will also possibly, in a way, highlight that content. To consume that kind of content, it will actually take that much of time. So business leaders will also start seeing that. Right? It will be easier for L&D teams to say that, look, it is not about what a training vendor is saying, but here's the content, experience it. Right? So this is what people would actually require to invest in terms of time for them to acquire those necessary skills. So it will be, in a way, solving that larger problem as well, because the confrontation is constant within enterprises. So in a way, I see that also happening. Coming to the skillets aspect, yes, it is a la carte. Okay? For a business leader who believes in here and now, he's saying, I want this particular part of the entire program to be consumed. Sure, mix3d in a skillet form will enable people to actually consume that.
Right?
And we can build possibly checks and measures to enable that skills are meaningfully learned, and therefore how it can be used, and augment that with instructor-led support if need be. So I see this mix3d in the skillet form and the buffet form, which is a full-blown program, actually reaching out to far more number of customers and enabling them to pick and choose.
Correct. Yeah. And they know, what portion of the ocean are they missing? Otherwise,
realization is more important.
It is correct. It is correct. Especially in technical programs. I mean, you'll find customers who just want to solve today's problems. And they also have a solution.
Correct.
Those who are looking to invest in people in the long term, they also have a solution.
They are also solutions. That's the way I see this. That's why I think we will have a program like that, which is a sum total of multiple skillets to form a full-blown course.
Brilliant. Are you also planning that for your Power BI?
Progressively. I think Advanced Excel is what we will have now. Right. Power BI progressively. We should add that. We will. Once we finish the Advanced Excel exercise, I think we will do the Power BI.
Interesting. We look forward to the launch of the KCS channel on Mix3D.
Absolutely.
Very soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's another facet of your life which most of us know. I think I should also bring our viewers up to date on it. You're not just a training company owner. You also produced a feature film.
Yes.
In Malayalam.
Yes, I have.
And Malayalam industry is in the news for producing one of the best content ever, at least in the last 5 to 6 years. And your movie was on Netflix as well.
Yes, it was.
How was that transition happen? Were you always a movie buff?
Yes, I was always a movie buff. But I think it happened very, very long ago. It was in the year 1991.
All right.
That I got exposed to Malayalam cinema. Though I am a Malayali, I was born and brought up in Bangalore.
You're a Kannadi guy.
I did not watch too many Malayalam movies. I think before 1991, I had only watched 2 Malayalam movies. Okay, one is Picnic, starring Prem Nazir.
Oh God!
And that I watched it in Chaganashiri, Kerala. That's my hometown, my father's hometown, when I was very small. And the second was, CBI Diary Kuruppu, starring Mammootty. These were the only 2 movies that I had watched. And when I watched CBI Diary Kuruppu, I was still much younger. But I was actually fascinated with how the movies were made, or how that movie was made.
Right.
In 1991, I lived for a year in Trivandrum. I was working for an FMCG company. So I lived in Trivandrum, Kollam, neighboring districts. And the only thing that one would do at the end of the day, after you come back from the field, is to go and watch a
movie.
Film.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of theatres around where I stayed. And that got me going on Malayalam cinema. Because the quality of films, phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get enough of it. At that time, I told myself that one day I will produce a film.
And you did.
It took me, from 1991, it took me 26 years to do that. But I did it in 2017. Yes, my film Samarpanam did its time on about 7-8 airlines around the world. Did a 1 year, a stint on the Emirates platform in the UAE. We had a 3-year run on Netflix.
Wow.
That was about my movie production and movie production business. Not that I wouldn't want to do that, but a lot of other priorities have taken over. My fingers are onto multiple things apart from my passion, which is training. So someday,
given a chance, you will definitely do it again.
I will do that again. I will definitely produce movies. Yes, I will. Malayalam movies.
You're very clear about that.
I'm very clear about Malayalam.
Perfect. Wishing you all the best, sir.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank
you
you so
produce
much,
a lot of content, not just in films, but also for the education market. It's my belief that if India has to cross that $10 trillion mark, we have a lot of upskilling, reskilling, all of that to do.
Which are critical.
Critical. And
without skills, we are not getting there.
Yeah, the next 15 years is going to be the golden years in our country. Yeah, just like the railroads were made in the 1800s in the United States.
Correct.
This is that opportunity period, and I'm certain the L&OD business is also going to bloom in the coming years. Wishing you all the very best, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me over.
My pleasure, sir.